The Foods for Wellness scan was previously only available to select and elite users, but we recently made a more basic version of this scan that's now available in the Balance software. This biosurvey is quick and easy to run, and it gives you a lot of great information that can be used to help you and your clients make better dietary choices. In this video, we'll give you an overview of this biosurvey and show you what's included in the reports, as well as some tips on how to navigate the reports and interpret the data. So to get started, you just come into the My Clients tab and select the client you want to scan. For this example, I'll do a client search and select this test client. Then from here, we can select New Session. Now, we can open this ZYTO Balance Biosurveys tab, and we can see this Essential Foods for Wellness scan. As we hover over this biosurvey, you'll see a description pop up. This basically touches on the concept of bio-individuality, which is the concept that a diet that's optimal for one person might not be optimal for another. So that's really what we're addressing here, and we're doing this by gathering the galvanic skin response readings and comparing them to virtual items that have been associated to different foods and looking for the most biologically coherent foods. Along with those coherent or preferable foods, this scan will also show the less coherent foods that the person will likely want to avoid. And the nice thing about this biosurvey is that it scans more than 300 foods. So you really get a wide variety of foods to choose from, so you can basically get a shopping list for the client to integrate into their diet. Another thing to keep in mind before we begin is that this scan is not an allergy test. So we're not diagnosing food allergies here or anything like that. We're just finding out what the foods do from more of an applied kinesiology or a muscle testing standpoint. In a sense, we're just seeing if they responded to a food virtual item in a strengthened or weakened state energetically. Okay, let's go ahead and click on this biosurvey, and it takes us to this diet filter screen. The nice thing about the scan is that you can focus on specific diets. So if your client is on a certain diet, you might want to come over here and say, okay, I know that they're gluten-free, so I'm going to eliminate those foods from the scan. We can select that option and it will remove all the items from that category from the scan. You can see all the other diet options here that you can select to filter the results, but for this scan, we're going to keep all the foods in there. So we're not going to select anything. Instead, we'll just click Next, and it will automatically start scanning the entire list of foods. Your client would, of course, need to have their hand on the hand cradle, and the scan will run as long as there's a stable connection to the hand cradle on all 6 contact points. So all of those virtual items have been scanned, and now we can see this main report. The first responses you'll see on the report are the food categories the body responded to positively, followed by the ones that it had a negative response to. This is just taking each category as a whole and saying, here are the top categories you may want to consider adding, and then the negatives you may want to avoid. Next, we have the top 5 food responses and the top 5 negative food responses. Again, these top 5 foods are the ones that you should strongly consider adding. And then these top 5 negative ones you may want to reduce or eliminate. Now, after this, we have the top 5 positive and negative responses for each category. This makes it really convenient because you can just go through here and pick out a variety of foods from each category and basically create a customized shopping list for the client. And you can work with the client to choose the foods that they're comfortable eating as well. There are a couple of other reports with this biosurvey. So if I come here to the top left and click Select Report and pull up this All Foods by Category report, this just shows you a list of all the foods that were scanned. It doesn't show you the responses, but it's just an inventory of what's in the scan. Then we have the Food Filters report. This shows a list of filtered foods for each category, if you want to look at that for reference. Then we have the Food Descriptions report, which shows you a brief description of each food in the scan. So another nice thing there for your reference if you want some more information about a food and what it's good for. This is where you can make some connections too. Like maybe you notice that a lot of the person's top foods contain omega-3s, for example. So that may be something to look into further. All right, so to recap here, this food scan is not a scan for allergies. It's not looking for a histamine response. There are other tests that you can run for that. But the ZYTO system is looking for that galvanic skin response from the hand cradle. And then we're seeing how the body responds as each food virtual item is introduced. So it's either going to have a strong, positive biologically preferred response, or it's going to have a negative response or something that weakens the system. The main report for this scan can be super helpful for you and the client as you're looking at what foods are right for them. You may see patterns as far as which types of foods are showing up as positive and negative, and be able to draw some conclusions from that. And it also helps you ask better questions to the client regarding which foods are showing up at the top and bottom, and why that might be. All right, that is an overview of the Essential Foods for Wellness scan. As I mentioned, there's a more advanced version of this scan in the Select and Elite. It scans about 150 more food items, including food stressors. And then there are a lot more reports as well. But this more basic biosurvey gives you some great core information that can be very helpful. Thanks for watching this video. And if you'd like to know more about our products and see other resources we have, make sure to visit us at ZYTO.com.